Welcome to the Near Fall Podcast, recorded in Oildale, California, and the outskirts of Rosedale, California. We are a wrestling podcast. This is our second episode. We're going to be talking about our Mount Rushmore of wrestlers, the E60 ESPN special they had on NXT, and some other stuff that is wrestling related. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off with Joel Ramirez's Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
Yeah, so I want to jump right into this Mount Rushmore of wrestlers. And to be honest, you're talking about 60-plus years of wrestlers to kind of go over wrestlers that had peaked and were done before I was even born. So the first guy for me, and he's not even a guy that I know anything about, but it's Bruno Sammartino, and he's just the guy that is world-renowned for being the guy. You know, he's the number one guy. He's the first superstar, longest reigning champion. He only held the title 2 times, but he held it, and I know Cody knows the days a little bit more exact than I do, but he held it for something like 4,000 days. Which is close to, and he had it for 2 reigns, so he held it the first time, I think, for close to 9 years, something like that, but, so he's my number one guy. My number 2 guy, and I know this guy's gotten a lot of heat on this podcast, granted, we've only had 1 episode, but, this guy's got a lot of heat on this podcast, but, it's Hulk Hogan. To be perfectly honest, without Hulk Hogan, you wouldn't have what you have today as far as wrestling goes. For us, we were just babes, stains on our daddy's pants, if you will, in the late 80s. But Hogan was the man back then. It was a little bit different game than it is now, right? It was wear your seatbelt, eat your veggies. It was all that stuff. It was tan bodies and blonde hair and a Joe Terry-esque hairline. But, it wasn't the same then. But irregardless isn't a word, but regardless, without Hogan, you wouldn't have a lot of the superstars you have today because that's when they came up. You know, they were around when we were kids, and they were really inspired by Hogan. And I know Cody hates him. Cody thinks he's a terrible person, and I'm more or less on board with that. But so let's transition away from Hogan. I think Hogan is more or less a consensus pick for the Mount Rushmore of wrestling. It's very difficult to exclude Hogan from your Mount Rushmore of wrestling. He was just the guy. So my third guy is Ric Flair. Ric Flair is the guy that's held the belt the most times, and a lot of people could say, well, if he's a 16-time champion, that means he's lost it 17 times. But you have to lose it, right? You can't hold it forever. And Ric Flair is one of the greatest in-ring technicians. He's just all around. He's one of the greats. It's really hard if you think back to all the wrestlers that have ever stepped inside the squared circle to think of one that was better than Ric Flair. So he's got to be up there. And my fourth guy, which I'm probably going to be in opposition with my 2 colleagues here and our one kind of phone a friend guy that reached out to us is The Rock. And I think The Rock, because The Rock for me kind of bridged the gap between sports entertainer or for me wrestler, because to me it's about the wrestling, but The Rock is a mainstream guy now. I mean, you watch The Rock, and The Rock's in movies. You know, he's he's done being the receptionist for the SmackDown Hotel. He's checked enough people in there. He is in movies now, real movies too, not just like movies about wrestlers or movies about action movies. The Rock is in real movies. So, I think The Rock is there, and you can argue The Rock, he kind of came to win as he pleased, but while he was there, he was the top of the game. He was the best on the mic. He was one of the best in the ring. He got the biggest pop from the crowd. So The Rock is there. So for me, it's San Martino, Hogan, it's Flair, and it's The Rock. And The Rock's character transition from Rocky Maivia, some dude with like teal streamers coming from his neck, to being The Rock, you can't argue with that. So I'll leave the floor open, kind of go to a Washington, D.C. kind of approach here. I'll leave the floor open to anybody who wants to step in and offer their Mount Rushmore.
To touch on your Mount Rushmore, I agree with The Rock. I mean, I'll let you know he's not on mine, but some great points to why he's on yours or why he should be on somebody else's. Just what he's done for the business, what he's came from. Like you brought up Rocky Maivia and coming out with the streamers. He was getting die, Rocky, die chants. People coming in with signs that say die, Rocky, die. And he was able to absorb that, turn it into a positive, and become probably one of the best heels ever. You got to give it to the guy. And then, after a couple movies, mostly, I've seen most of his movies, The Rundown was okay. Doom, in my opinion, sucked. But after that, he's knocked out some Walking Tall, the Fast and the Furious franchise, Faster. He's done some good movies. He's legitimized himself as a Hollywood A-lister, in my opinion. And then he can still come back. I'm not a fan of the part-time wrestler. I'm not a fan of, hey, I'm The Rock, and I've been gone for 3 years, but I can get a main event at WrestleMania, because you're not putting in work. And
still doing it more than Lesnar, though.
Yeah,
but I think it's the body of work that speaks. The Rock has a body of work that...
Absolutely. But we talked last week about Cena burying talent. And if The Rock
don't
just...
bury talent.
No, I'm not saying he does. I'm saying if he comes in once a year and takes the main event... That's burying somebody who could have took the main event at WrestleMania. The Rock's main evented. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. I'm not saying he can't come back and wrestle, but you shouldn't be in the main event. Rock versus Cena 3, Rock versus Lesnar. We don't want to see. We want to see it, but it doesn't need to be main event.
But we don't want to see anything with Cena. But
well, some of us want to see things with Cena, and we're not gonna go back to last week just yet. But there are people in the room. At least two of us, the esteemed producer, Bill Pimble, probably also a John Cena fan. Jury's out on that. But needless to say, there are at least two John Cena maniacs in the room right now. John Cena mania running wild right here in the podcast.
I'm going to go ahead and cut into my Mount Rushmore, Cody's Mount Rushmore. And I'm going to go, this is in no particular order. This is just, I wrote it down. I don't think there is an order on the Mount Rushmore. But Ric Flair, just for what he's done, what he's done for the business, and 16-time world champion, as Joel mentioned, and great in-ring wrestler, 4 horsemen, figure 4 leg lock, one of my favorite submissions to put on my wife. It's just, he's an all-around great wrestler. We've talked about it before, just privately, but he's not the best person outside of the ring, but he's far from the worst. You watch some of his TNA stuff, and he's in the ring wooing and throwing his shoes, taking his jacket off, sweating, falling on the ground, wooing.
He's like 170 years old, dude. It's like at some point you've got to just step away.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't know when to say when. Now, but I'm talking Mount Rushmore, what he's done for the business, in-ring wrestler. Ric Flair is definitely on my Mount Rushmore. But number 2, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Without Stone Cold Steve Austin, there's absolutely no Attitude Era, in my opinion. Without Stone Cold Steve Austin, WCW may have won the Monday Night Wars. I believe Stone Cold is the sole reason WWE is where it is today.
I agree with you because I think they had nobody, right? You had Stone Cold, and because you had Stone Cold, you had The Rock. And the reason, this is J-Bone, for all you listeners out there, all 91 to 93 of you in the Near Fall Nation. We're kicking down the door to 100, but hell, we're new, and so we're trying. But without Stone Cold Steve Austin, you don't have The Rock. But for me, The Rock is there because Stone Cold's body of work is about 5 years. And The Rock, he carried through. He's still relevant today. Whereas Stone Cold, obviously, he's still relevant. He's an icon. But I don't think he's ever going to get back in the ring. The Rock, I think the jury is still out. He's not a spring chicken. But he's not as old as SCCA, so or SCSA. So he could still. I think The Rock can still get back in there.
That dude's in great shape.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen the picture of him? I mean, he's jacked to the max, so he can still get back in the ring.
Fast 7, he was huge in that.
No, but to the same token, if you watch Broken Skull Ranch, Stone Cold is still pretty jacked.
Yeah.
That's a good show, by the way. I mean, that show.
I actually want to.
It's a pretty good show. The very I'm getting a little off topic, but the very last obstacle course that they have to do, I don't know how they do it.
It's like Inhuman, dude. It's like, carry this 40-pound log and run through freezing water and jump on it. It's like crazy, man. You should watch it. You don't watch it?
No, I don't watch it. I've heard a lot.
He also has another show that I actually haven't watched, The Redneck Island. I haven't watched that, but I mean,
that's like Survivor, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah. Redneck Survivor, yeah. But so after Ric Flair and Stone Cold, barring his personal stuff, because as a human being, I think he's a piece of shit. But as a wrestler and what he's done for the industry, you can't have a Mount Rushmore, in my opinion, without Hulk Hogan.
Agreed.
And after him, I had one of Joel's with Bruno Sammartino, but I took him off because he retired in 81. I wasn't born until 88. So nothing he's done is relevant to me. I know he, like Joel said, 2-time champion, held it for over 4,000 days. But, I feel like there was nobody else maybe at the time to take it from him. Talent wasn't as deep as it is now also. So I took him off my Mount Rushmore and I put in Triple H for the simple fact he's a 13-time champion. When the cream of the crop is your Stone Cold, your Rock. He's also the creator of DX, the creator of Evolution. He's part of the Authority. You might not like seeing it on TV. It might be a little stale, but when it first came out, it was cool, The things he's doing at NXT, and I can't wait to see what he does, which I hope it's soon, when Vince lets go of the reins and lets Triple H take over and run WWE.
I agree
fully.
with that, because what he's doing in NXT is top-notch, man. Yeah. That product is better than anything that's on, I think they call it basic cable, but it's better than anything that's on TV right now. I mean, it's top-notch, dude. The storylines, the angles, the matches. It's just great. It's really great. I really love it.
Yeah, definitely. Vince is the decline for what's going on in WWE right now.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great transition into Juicy Joe Terry's Mount Rushmore.
Well, I'm actually going for the other guy that's the founder of DX, which is Shawn Michaels. The guy has won basically every title there is, man. He is just a great performer, good charisma and everything, and he can put anybody over. He's got the WWF Championship, there's 3 times, the European title, Intercontinental titles, and like 5 or 6 tag titles. Guy's just great, man. And then, like Cody said, he's one of the founders in the DX, so that's always good. That was like the main go up against NWO. which was in the WCW. But my next pick was Undertaker, mainly for the streak. You know, that's 21-0, and then now it's 22-1, which Joel's giving me the,
That's an upside down grin that I'm giving, and what I'm giving is, and don't get me wrong, I do love the Undertaker. I think everybody does, but man, I don't agree with the Undertaker as being one of the four greatest guys to ever step inside the squared circle. Man, let's give us a little more insight on why you made that pick, Joe.
I literally did it because of the streak. I mean, WrestleMania 21-0 was great. Even now he's 22-1, which, the whole thing to Brock Lesnar was kind of screwed up anyway.
Do you think Brock Lesnar was the right guy? Because if you guys watched Cheap Pops, anybody who watched Cheap Pops, Mick Foley is totally bought in. I mean, what do you think?
I don't think that Brock Lesnar needed to be pushed.
No.
He was already over as hell. So why break that streak? And this year, I think going into WrestleMania 31 at Santa Clara, he should have been 22-0 and let Bray Wyatt break the streak and pass the torch of darkness. You gave it to Brock Lesnar, and he did shit with it.
But do you think that's what they were doing? Do you think they were passing the torch of darkness? Are they trying to,
they weren't
in the
passing
PG era, trying to transition away from that?
They weren't passing the torch of darkness. Vince just wanted to put Brock over for some reason, and
he thought it was good for business.
Yeah, and he didn't need to be put over. And
definitely not.
I think, honestly, it was a slap in the face to Undertaker. And Vince was on Stone Cold's podcast, and Stone Cold asked him, was that your decision or Mark's? And he said, that was my decision.
But a lot has come out since then where it's been kind of, it was like a mutual decision. I mean, Taker wanted to put somebody over. And I know, Joe, we're cutting into your Rushmore a little bit. But
I'm all for that.
I think Taker is a controversial pick, man, because as far as accolades go, he doesn't really have a whole lot. As far as the Mount Rushmore goes, I'm not going to argue with you as far as, this is your pick. And I think the Mount Rushmore, that kind of comes back to who are your guys.
Yeah.
Who are your guys. But Taker, man, you got to elaborate a little bit more on. To me, the whole American Badass thing, American Badass to me is Kid Rock. You know what I mean? So elaborate on your pick of the Undertaker a little bit, man.
Well, it's not even the American Badass thing. It's literally the whole phenom of it. The Undertaker, not the motorcycle riding Undertaker. Literally, the guy who will bury you.
You're talking about the whole Undertaker package from '91 until
exactly
late March 2015.
I think it was SummerSlam when he first came out with the crow on his shoulder, or the vulture on his shoulder and everything. I mean, that was like shocking. And then literally, like I said, the main reason why I picked him was because of the streak. I think that should go into any record books as being one of the greatest, streaks of all time. It's not Goldberg's streak.
Goldberg was like 500-0, right?
Yeah, it's a WrestleMania. I think they added some like every week. It was
for sure.
Goldberg went from 29-0 to 67-0 to 180-0. It's like,
right.
This guy hasn't wrestled.
I will say that throughout the years, I don't know if there was a harder worker than Undertaker. He's been going hard since probably '81, and
he was always there, man.
He might not have the accolades, but that's not his fault. It's not that he didn't put in work, and it's not that he didn't deserve them. It's that he got overlooked in certain times, and to just be a constant in the wrestling, spectrum. I mean, our dads know who the Undertaker was.
Yeah,
we know who the Undertaker was, and our kids know who the Undertaker is.
Yeah.
And you can't say that about, like, people on my Mount Rushmore. My dad might know Hogan, but my son doesn't.
Yeah.
My son doesn't know Stone Cold Steve Austin, and my dad doesn't either, really. Because
my kid damn sure don't know Bruno Sammartino.
That was just a, and I don't want to say, but for lack of a better term, a flash in the pan when it comes to, like, if you look at the Undertaker's, body of work.
Yeah.
he's at least 3 to 4 generations wide. Where, and I will say, the guys on my Mount Rushmore, besides Ric Flair, maybe 2 generations, maybe Ric Flair's at least 4.
Yeah,
just like the Undertaker.
Look at Stone Cold. He was in it for such a short time. He did so much,
right?
But you know,
but did Stone Cold really do a whole lot, or did Stone Cold just catch fire?
No, he was literally the face of the Attitude Era because
he was an attitude.
He had that attitude.
He was the greatest anti-hero of all time. I mean, I'll definitely give you that. So I understand why he's on there, and trust me, we had to make 4 picks, right? And you got to span all eras, right? You've got to span every era.
Yeah.
So I might have leaned a little too heavily on some of the older guys, but to me, it's a lot about why you watch now, right? As far as your Mount Rushmore goes, and if there's no Bruno Sammartino, then there's probably no Hogan, and if there's no Hogan, then there's probably no Rock, and Ric Flair is just kind of one of those guys he's just so good. He's just such a good worker, such a good talent that you just really can't pass him up. All the accolades. I mean, Ric Flair had already made a name for himself before I was even born.
Yeah.
So there's kind of that stuff. So, but we're cutting into a lot of Juicy J's time here. We're really cutting him down because he's made some controversial picks. I feel like me and Cody and myself, Cody and I, we kind of played it safe.
No, we definitely played it safe. But if we're looking at the spectrum, in my opinion, you don't put Rock on your Mount Rushmore unless you're putting Stone Cold on there too. Because I think Stone Cold definitely deserves to be on Mount Rushmore way before The Rock. The Rock is great. I'm not taking anything away from him. But without Stone Cold, there is no Rock. Because they had some great feuds. And I still think Stone Cold would be who he is today even if The Rock wasn't there.
Well, that leads to my 3rd pick, which is Austin 316. I literally think he's the face of the Attitude Era. 1996, King of the Ring, when he turned into the Austin 316 persona. I think it was great for business. He's literally the first heel that everybody cheered for because he was literally that person that would tell his boss to F off and not care, what would happen and everything like that.
Well, he was kind of the first guy in WWE that kind of said, "Hey,
let me
check it out. I'm gonna be me. I'm not gonna be this cartoony. I'm not gonna be like Isaac Yankem. I'm gonna be me. And if you don't like it, well, then I'll just put 2 middle fingers in your face and I'll kick you in the gut,
go somewhere else,
break your neck." That's what he did. So I think he was that first guy to kind of embrace that. And I think to Cody's point, a lot on The Rock. And I picked The Rock in my Mount Rushmore, but and The Rock kind of fed off Austin a little bit, I think, and kind of took that guidance. And he was the first guy to do that, and The Rock kind of fed off that. I just think The Rock did it better. But anyways, back to Juicy J. We've been really undercutting him a lot, and we can't help it.
No, it's fine. I think definitely Austin and Rock go hand in hand as far as Attitude Era, but I bounced back and forth. I ended up putting Austin on there. My next one I did, I originally had Hulk Hogan, but then I started thinking outside the box, and I decided to go with Vincent Kennedy McMahon for the times that he was a wrestler.
Dropping the middle name in there. Hey, full name. Got the birth certificate on
Mr.
here.
VKM.
That is out of left field and a definite solid pick.
It's a solid pick, and I don't think either one of us even thought to go there, And explain yourself a little bit, Juicy, about why did you pick VKM, man?
Well, I had Hogan. Of course, everybody's got to have Hogan, but then, like I said, I started thinking outside the box. Dude was a wrestler, but without Vince McMahon, you wouldn't have virtually everybody that we've listed off as far as Mount Rushmore. Aside from Ric Flair, because I think he came from like AWA. And
he was in the NWA.
Yeah, he was a badass over there. But other than that, without him, we wouldn't have anything. But yeah, Vince McMahon, I mean, some would say it's kind of cheating because he's not technically a wrestler, but he did wrestle with Stone Cold and stuff like that through all of the times, but I personally think it's a pretty good pick.
I mean, it's an awesome pick, man. And what you got to think about is that he, all the times that he wasn't a wrestler, I mean, he was working the mic and he was kind of selling a lot of the stuff that was going on in the ring, kind of almost behind the scenes. If you think about it, I mean, he was pretending, not necessarily pretending, but he was kind of working into the guys at home. I'm just a lowly commentator, and kind of selling all these things and selling all these angles that really made the WWE what it is today. So that's kind of a pick that blindsided us, man. We really didn't expect that, and I think that's a great pick, dude. Kind of makes me rethink my Mount Rushmore. Cody, where you at on this, man?
I definitely rethink my Mount Rushmore because, like Joey said, without Vince McMahon, you're not going to have your Stone Colds, your Hogans, your Triple H's. I think the only two out of all our Mount Rushmores that would still be in existence is Ric Flair and Bruno Sammartino.
Bruno Sammartino, I didn't mention him, but yeah.
So I guess, you can't really put, anybody on the Mount Rushmore without, I guess our Mount Rushmore should have like a header, and it should have Vince at the top, and then 4 people trickled off, maybe.
I mean, maybe, man. I never really thought of it that way, but if you think about Vince, and not only think about Vince, but think about the Vince before Vince, right? Mm-hmm. And he's the one that kind of opened the door for San Martino. So you gotta have somebody from the McMahon clan on the Mount Rushmore, and I think that's a solid pick, man. It really kind of makes me rethink my picks. I'm obviously going to stick to my guns here on my picks. My picks are obviously better than both your guys' picks,
well, we got a third one. We got another.
Oh, no, I forgot. I forgot. We do have Brian Ryan's picks here. So lay him on us. Cody's going to go ahead and Brian was not able to be with us on the podcast today, but he was able to send his picks over to us. So Cody's going to go ahead and lay these down. And I think these are going to kind of shatter a little bit of what we picked. They're kind of a little bit different than any of the picks that we've already laid down. So Cody, go ahead, take it away, man.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a preview into what Brian Ryan brings to the table here at the Near Fall podcast. Unfortunately, he lives out of town, so he can't make it to all these podcasts. We're going to definitely try to get him in here on at least a monthly basis and give him a little mic time, and he's going to bring to you his thoughts on. He's definitely our indie guy. He's definitely a lot more focused on the underground than we are. So. We don't want to be just a strictly WWE podcast. And I know that that's how it sounded with the first 2 episodes, but we definitely got a guy in here that knows a lot about your indie scene, and he's going to be bringing a lot more to the table. Unfortunately, like I said, he's living out of town right now, so we'll definitely try to get him in here, though. But his Mount Rushmore is Undertaker. I know as a child growing up, that was his favorite, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons he picked him. I can't elaborate why else he picked him. I'm sure the streak plays a factor, but just being his favorite wrestlers, as long as I've known him, that's been his favorite wrestler.
And most people who've watched wrestling for any length of time love The Undertaker. He's a great character. He's been through a whole lot, man. He had the Paul Bearer thing, the Kane thing, the Mankind thing, the whole weird American badass thing, and then back to being The Undertaker. And so he's been through a lot. So I think everybody who's a wrestling fan can stand behind that pick.
Well, also the Undertaker that he was using when he kidnapped Stephanie. That was a little different. Remember when he did that?
Yeah, it was kind of like that cult leader Undertaker thing. Yeah,
right. He had the Apostles, JBL and Farouk.
Yeah,
Farouk.
He had that. Damn.
The Acolytes.
Acolytes. There you go.
I think it was a different Farouk, but either way. Farouk was good.
Then he has the great Muda on here, which is, like I said, he's definitely into the underground stuff and more of the New Japan, and that's where he's getting that from. He's got actually the first tag team on a Mount Rushmore, and it's Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, which I think is a great pick.
Pretty solid.
Probably one of the best tag teams in the history of wrestling.
The best tag team.
Can't knock it there. I think the reason none of us put a tag team on ours is I was leaning towards maybe next week or in a month or so having a Mount Rushmore of tag teams. But, he put them on here, and I think they're a solid pick. And then his last one is also Triple H, and he put in here for what he's done with NXT and when he takes over WWE, what he's going to do. And I think those are all solid picks. I don't know much about the Great Muta, but I think the other ones are great picks. And then he also, like I said, he's going to be bringing to you some indie scene stuff, some rookies to watch out for, and he just put in some notes here to, when it starts coming on TV, or if you can catch it on YouTube or at least read up on it, Jeff Jarrett's new promotion, Global Force Wrestling. He just announced some talent that's gonna be wrestling, and he announced that former UFC fighter Chael Sonnen's going to be on the announcing team. So definitely look for that. That's another avenue to get some talent up and running.
What do you guys think about Chael Sonnen? Hate's a strong word. I very, very, very strongly dislike Chael Sonnen. What do you guys think?
Well, I think as a person, he just kind of talks to get himself in the spotlight. But hey, maybe being a commentator, it's going to be good for him.
You guys think he's going to get in the ring?
No.
I don't know. I mean, he might get the itch being that close to it and around it all the time and being an athlete and not being past his prime. I mean, he's still young. He's still in great shape. He might want to get in there and mix it up.
Still roided to the max.
He might not get in there like as a main roster. He might be one of those ones where, like, a heel comes out and wants to talk shit. And he gets in the ring.
He steps up and fights them.
Exactly.
Yeah, like JBL does sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes
he kind of I can see something like
loosens
that.
His
but as far as being an official wrestler, I don't see that happening.
But, my thing is I thought he wanted to go into politics. Now, this is definitely a left turn in the wrong direction.
Well, that's kind of a different turn.
Politics might actually have been pretty good for him, too. But I think it'd be pretty good for him being a commentator and stuff like that. Because he literally is just a shit talker, so it'd be great for him. He'd be more of the heel aspect of the commentating.
I think it all depends on who they put him with. I mean, who are they gonna put him with? And I'm all for Global Force Wrestling, and I know this seems to be a WWE heavy podcast, but I mean we're open to a lot of things here, and to be perfectly honest, there's not a lot of other stuff that comes on TV.
Yeah.
Other than WWE, I mean, you got Ring of Honor, you've got New Japan, and you've got Lucha, and that's more or less it. So, I think we're open to Global Force, but I think a lot of it's going to depend on some of the talent. I know they've got Justin Gabriel down there, and a few other guys. Yeah, he's an awesome worker.
Yeah.
Before we transition though, I'd like to put a shout out to the fans to maybe make their own Mount Rushmore and tweet us at the Near Fall Podcast.
Yeah, if you think we're wrong, tweet us. Tell us what you think.
If you agree, you disagree, give us your Mount Rushmore, and maybe if there's some crazy ones out there, we'll definitely air them next week.
Yeah, you can get us at Near Fall Pod. We're on Twitter. If you don't want to tweet us, you're not on Twitter. Hit us up at nearfallpod@gmail.com. Yeah. We're there. We're ready.
Tell us what you like, what you didn't like, what we can do to improve. Like we've said a few times already, we're just starting out. Let us know what we can do to make us better.
All right. Well, let's transition and let's talk a little bit about the E60 special aired by ESPN. This special, it was entitled "Behind the Curtain." It really gave you a glimpse into what happens behind the scenes with WWE, and particularly in NXT. To me personally, I'll start off with what I thought about it. I thought it was brilliant. To me, being a wrestling fan, quote unquote huge wrestling fan, huge enough to have a podcast, talk about it. I thought it was great. I like to see that behind the scenes, that in the boardroom stuff. That to me put me over the top. Now the stories were even better. I mean, the Adam Rose stuff, the Xavier Woods stuff. I loved it. I really loved it. I want to hear what you guys think about it, and in particular, Cody. I want to hear what you thought about it, because Cody's really not an NXT guy. He doesn't have any beef with NXT. He just never really been a guy that watches it. So I kind of want to get some insight from you, Cody, as to what you thought about it.
Well, the Xavier Woods and the Adam Rose, I didn't know who they were, and I didn't see them wrestle until they made the main roster on WWE. And I will say that my first opinion of Xavier Woods was he sucked. I didn't really see him wrestle. He was more of a hype man, if you would, for
it's a
Kofi
cheerleader
Kingston.
even.
Exactly.
He's even a cheerleader.
But then I see this, and I see how good he was at NXT and how he's putting in work. He's staying physically fit. He's out there working these guys, and he's doing the best he can, and he's doing a pretty good job at it. And then he's trying to get his PhD. He's 2 years away from his PhD. That's pretty badass. Now, the Adam Rose, I hate the Adam Rose character. The Rosebuds, I think it sucks. But to see him and to see what he's been through and what his kids had to go through, I think you both agree with me, and that it makes you an Adam Rose guy because of his son. Now, should we be Adam Rose guys because of that? No, but just being humans and having kids, I think we sympathize with them.
Yeah,
Indeed.
And then but I think I took away the best was Corey Graves. Great talent, awesome in-ring ability, just caught a tough break with concussions and bad knees. But you know what? Triple H came to him and told him, you put in work and you were a hard worker, and we see that. And that doesn't go unnoticed. And we want to offer you a 2-year contract as an announcer at NXT. And I think he's past that 2-year mark, and they've gave him more, and now he's he's doing the pre-shows before every pay-per-view.
I think Corey Graves is awesome, man. I mean, he's knocking it out of the park. I mean, I think he'll be. To me, it's between him and Renee Young, who's going to be the next one to come up as far as announcers on Raw, because I think we can all agree the announcers they have on Raw are just terrible. Totally terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, also what I liked is you said like the boardroom meetings, and I like how ESPN put on there, Michael Cole, but then under it they put his real name. I didn't know that wasn't his real name.
Yeah.
That
was pretty cool. It was more
Michael Hayes the same way. I mean, we all knew that Triple H was Paul, but other than that, and then also
even Dusty Rhodes, Hard Times.
Yeah, that's not his real name.
Greatest promo of all time. And I know we're going to get into that down the road, but I just want to lay it out there right now that the Dusty Rhodes Hard Times promo on Ric Flair, the greatest promo of all time.
And then, when they were bringing, I believe, Xavier Woods up to the WWE, and he's having a conversation with Road Dogg, and it says under there, like, WWE Raw coordinator. Like, it's so great to see a company has loyalty like that, And you wonder why, why'd Road Dogg show up on this Monday Night Raw? We don't realize he's there every week because they kept him. He's wearing a suit now, and he's promoting people or he's teaching people, and then you got William Regal at the NXT teaching. Like, they keep it in-house for the most part. They keep it homegrown, and I really like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of places you don't get that, right? I mean, you got guys who have been there, done that. And the Road Dogg, he wasn't the greatest worker of all time, but he's been there and he wrestled at a high level for a long time. He still wrestles on the live shows and stuff like that. So, yeah, the Road Dogg and those kind of guys, I mean, they still have a lot to offer the company. And I thought the E60 kind of shed a light on that that wasn't necessarily being shed, right? You kind of just watch the product every week, and like a lot of us wrestling fans, we kind of just watch it, and we kind of just get, we fast forward through the things we don't like, and I thought this kind of shed a light on, hey, you know, like there's a lot more to these people than just their characters, right? They're real people. Like Adam Rose in the ring, yeah, we might not connect with this character, but in real life, that's a real person, you know. And we don't always have that. And I thought that E60 kind of legitimized wrestling in a way. It, to us, really didn't need to be legitimized, right? Because we're quote-unquote diehard fans. But to a lot of people, the casual fans, the people that just think of it as, oh, this is fake, and these guys are just all bogus, you know, I think it kind of legitimized it. And Juicy J, do you want to give us a little insight as to what you thought about it, man? You're being kind of quiet over there. I know it's late at night. I know it's practically in the middle of the night.
Yeah, we're at what, like 1 in the morning?
Yeah, we're at like 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
But you know what?
This is when genius happens.
We've ran through a lot. This is like our 4th take on this podcast, and we're really hitting it hard. We're trying to bring to you guys the best product that we can. We're not just laying this thing down in one take and moving on. You know, we're laying it down. If it doesn't sound good, we're scrapping it. It's Mother's Day weekend. We're making sacrifices, so please bear with us. We're going to get the hang of it. We're going to bring it to the Near Fall Nation. All 92 of you guys. We're going to hit it hard. Juicy J, take it away with your thoughts on the E60, man.
Well, I mean, like you guys are saying, I loved it, man. I found myself rewinding it just to do a double take of what had happened. As far as Adam Rose with this Leo Kruger character, I almost sympathized with him because, you know, they made him change what he had because they said it wasn't getting over, and the guy's 35 years old, you know, or something like that, where, you know, Bill DeMott literally said, you know, you need to change it, and if it doesn't work, you're done, basically. And just flat out said, you need to make it work. And it did get over, you know, after his entrance, you know, the crowd started chanting, "This is awesome," and everything. As far as what Cody said, you know, the Xavier Woods, I knew him from TNA days back when it was Consequence Creed. I always thought he was a great wrestler and everything like that. Just seeing him in that, seeing the other side of what he had done, it's pretty cool with the whole PhD and everything. And dude's totally a 90s nerd, which is pretty cool. You know, and showed him taking out Pogs, and, you know, he's all into Power Rangers and stuff like that.
Ninja Turtle backpack.
Yeah. But that's just a little side note. Everything else, I think it's great.
I think they could have done that. I would like to see that like every week, man. I mean,
do like a different guys every time. But I like how WWE pretty much didn't have anything to do with it. It was ESPN that kind of said, "Hey, we're going to take this and do it." And you know, you didn't have, for lack of a better term, the pyro and everything that, you know, they were doing to make it,
because
you know, all
WWE
flashy.
tells a story, right?
They didn't make it all flashy. They literally did, you know, in depth, behind the curtain, and everything like that.
I know.
So I thought it was really good.
Cody would have wanted to see kind of the Randy Orton. You know, what does Randy Orton eat for breakfast?
Yeah.
You know, what does he? What does Randy Orton? What kind of underwear does Randy Orton wear?
What kind of protein does Roman Reigns take?
You know, like, I like that they wouldn't let Vince get his hands on it.
Yeah.
You know, I read or heard somewhere that WWE didn't even see it until the premiere in LA or something. So ESPN filmed it, they went and edited it, and Vince didn't have a say-so. But like we've all said, we like that behind-the-scenes stuff. Like, you know, when Vince McMahon and Triple H were on Stone Cold's podcast, and that was Vince, you know, and that was Paul. Like, you know, and they were talking about putting people over. They talked a little bit about their beef with CM Punk. You know, it was real talk. It wasn't like this Chris Jericho Stephanie that you could tell
totally
was scripted.
Bogus.
That's probably why they're pissed off at Stone Cold, though. It's because, you know, he asked the wrong questions.
Yeah, well, you know what? And to me, and you've got to. Nobody wants to see this scripted BS bogus, man. And let's take a quick transition. I know not everybody has watched the Roman Reigns thing, but I used to be not a Roman Reigns guy, I guess you could say, but I watched the 24 special on Roman Reigns, and I'm a Roman Reigns guy now. And I don't know if it's just because, if they did that sort of thing, if they gave that sort of treatment to everybody, would we all be whatever guy? Would we all be Heath Slater guys, right? We probably wouldn't, right? But I think a lot of times what happens to us is we don't realize these are people, right? They're not just characters. We get behind that a lot. So I think I really want to encourage all 92 of the Near Fall Nation members to go out and watch that special. Watch the Roman Reigns 24 special. It's really good. You're gonna love it. You can't not like it. And also, I know sometimes we come off as a WWE heavy podcast, and you know what? We try not to be. We try to touch on all the promotions, but to be perfectly honest, and in my opinion, I think the WWE is the best product that's out there right now. Lucha Underground is doing a lot of nice stuff. TNA had a live show tonight. We weren't able to get any feedback on that show tonight as it's occurring as we're laying this podcast down. NXT is solid. I mean, you guys chime in here whenever you want, but I think we try to be as not WWE heavy as we can, but to be honest, that's really the market right now. I mean, everything is WWE right now.
Well, I'm going to chime in here and actually go back to WWE, because if there's any one of you listening to this that doesn't have the WWE network, you have got to get it. It's the same price as Netflix, and I mean, you get to relive your childhood with old pay-per-views from ECW. I'm talking the hardcore ECW is on there. WCW, WWE, WWF, all the old stuff. They got original programming. Corey Graves has got a show on there. Too Hot for TV with Jerry Springer's on there. Like Joel mentioned, the Roman Reigns 24/7. They also had a WrestleMania 24/7. Focusing kind of on Daniel Bryan and Connor the Crusher.
I think there's even a link to Cody's Grindr account on there.
Ooh.
Cody's
Tender.
I'm pretty sure it's Grindr, but it doesn't matter what it is.
But, I mean, you have to get it. If you plan on getting WrestleMania every year, that's a $70 pay-per-view.
You might as well get the network.
You might as well get the network.
Yeah, that's the cost of 2 pay-per-views.
Exactly. So if you plan on watching, I mean, just WrestleMania, at least get it for the 7 months, and I promise you, you will decide to finish the year out. It's you can't beat it, and eventually they're going to raise the price, and get in now at ground level, and hopefully they grandfather us all in at the $9.99.
I just think it's weird that every other month they're saying, "Oh, it's a free month. It's a free month. It's a free month," like that, and the people who are paying for it, eventually they're all going to get pissed because they keep on paying for it.
Yeah, we've been paying for it since day one, man.
Yeah,
and to me, kind of sucks that they do that. But
yeah, where's the kick down on that?
But I think it's just 1 month. Like, say you've never had it before, and you subscribe to the month of May for free. You can't turn around and subscribe and get June for free. It's a one-time deal.
Tried to do it, you can't do it.
It's just free. It's just to get the hook in your mouth, set the hook.
Right,
and you're gonna love May so much, you're gonna pay for June.
Well, right, but like I'm saying, say I'm that guy. You're the guy who's paying for it. Where's your kick down for paying for your May when everybody else got it for free?
Because it's so good, I don't mind paying the $10.
Would you feel that way about Netflix?
If somebody was getting it for free?
Yeah.
Well, I would want them to kick down and give it to me for free,
there
too.
you go. See?
But I'm telling you, right, Netflix might have great TV shows and movies, but if it came down to cancel my Netflix account or cancel my WWE network, I'm canceling Netflix.
The thing is, if you're a wrestling fan, man, the WWE network it's a no-brainer, man. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's a definite
I think it's
no-brainer.
great too. Just the classic matches alone pay for it. Well, any other things we want to talk about before we close this out?
Yeah, I think we should talk about. We got Payback coming up. What are you guys' predictions for that card, man? What do you guys think is going to be on that card?
Well, I think they're definitely going to. We know the Fatal 4-Way set, and then we're going to have Naomi versus Nikki Bella for the Divas title.
I think before we do predictions, we should probably wait for next week.
No, I think we're just predicting what the card's going to be.
Oh, okay.
Well, definitely the predictions for the winners will be next.
Yeah,
next
we'll
podcast.
lay that down
But
next week. Cody's going to pick John Cena. I mean, that's
who do you
John
think?
Cena is going to beat The Shield and Randy Orton, right?
Who do you think is going to face Kid and Cesaro? New Day. Does Kid and Cesaro get another rematch? Because they just had one,
They've got to, I think.
and with the Usos being out,
Yeah, what are they going to do? Throw the Ascension in there?
or maybe these
Cody loves the Ascension.
Maybe the Lucha. I hate the Ascension. Maybe the Lucha Dragons.
I'd like to see maybe a three-way with
bet you
Lucha
would.
Dragons.
So would our producer.
Oh, no, he wouldn't. We've learned that he wouldn't recently. But the thing is I think what they're doing with the New Day is kind of what they're doing a little bit in Lucha Underground with the Trios title is, if you've noticed, the guys that won the titles, that was Big E and Kofi Kingston.
Mm-hmm.
But the guys that wear the titles is always Xavier Woods and somebody else.
Yeah.
So they're kind of doing that. They call it Freebird rules or
Yeah.
something. It's paying homage to the Freebirds.
Yeah, somebody can stand in on it or something like
Back
that.
from Texas, if you got a 3-man tag, any two of the three guys can wear them. And I think that's kind of an interesting dynamic because there's no other 3-man tags in the WWE right now.
Not yet.
There was the Wyatt family, and which we talked about last week. There should have really never been any Wyatt family breakup. I think we kind of touched on that. But I, as far as Payback goes, outside of the Fatal 4-Way, I don't know how it's going to go, man.
No, but also, just to touch on the Wyatt family, SmackDown, was it Luke Harper was facing Fandango? And,
Joey's man, Fandango.
And
He's the man.
Eric Rowan comes out, and you think he's going to beef with Luke Harper, and then he beats up Fandango and leaves. So I don't know if they're trying to get those two back together and maybe let them have a tag team run.
I think you can't get anybody from the Wyatt family back together. I don't think so.
Maybe.
I don't know.
You think they're beating a dead horse with it or what?
They do tend to do that, so that could
You know
be
what
a
I
possibility.
actually saw? I told Joel about this. The guy that plays Luke Harper, I'm sorry. He used to do indie stuff, and he was really charismatic, great charisma.
Yeah.
Kind of more like a truck driver, kind of still dressed the same, but
Right.
really had good mic skills and was a good wrestler. And then they kind of just made him a mute.
Yeah,
So
I'd like to see more of that because that whole crazy ass thing is kind of.
They've got to turn the mic over to these guys, man. This whole, like you said, the whole crazy eyes thing. You can't have a character based around the concept that the dude has eyes. Like that's not a thing. Like, we all have eyes, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, my name's Joe Terry and I have eyes. Like that's dumb. But and I think the Payback card in itself is a little bit up in the air. We've kind of got to wait to see where it goes. I think we're about at time for this podcast. It's time to kind of wrap it up. Any final thoughts? Any parting shots from the near fall team here?
I think we covered most of what we wanted to cover in this podcast. I think my thing would be is what to look out for next week. And I believe Joe's got some notes on that, so maybe he can give the listeners little sneak preview of what to tune in for next week.
Yeah, next week we're, of course, going to do the payback predictions. But we might throw in maybe a classic match, like give a little step-by-step of what happened in like one of our favorite matches in history. And hopefully, you guys will jump aboard ship, take a look at it, and give your thoughts on it as well through our email or through our Twitter. But other than that, we'll probably just freestyle, see what else we can do. Most of the predictions are probably going to take up the whole podcast. But, yeah, we'll definitely be here next week, and hopefully so will you guys.
Yeah, we're going to keep bringing these podcasts to you guys, and I know we had in our last podcast, we had a lot more back and forth. We had the debate about John Cena, and God knows we can have 100 podcasts a year about why we love or hate John Cena, right? Everybody either loves or hates John Cena, but we've got to kind of branch away from that a little bit. This is the second episode of the Near Fall podcast. We're coming to you. We're out there. We're hitting it hard. We're coming up with ideas. If you guys have questions, comments, concerns, things you want to hear about, ideas, things that you want to talk about. Hell, if you want to be a guest on the damn Near Fall podcast, get to us. We're on social media. We're at the Near Fall Pod on Twitter. We're nearfallpod@gmail.com. Send us notes. If you think we suck, hell, send us a damn email. Tell us that we suck, and we'll write you back, and we'll tell you that we probably do suck. But hey, you got to start somewhere, guys. We're getting this out there to you. This is, for all intents and purposes, an interactive show. Hell, it's difficult to come up with ideas at times. We do the best we can. We've got some feedback, and some of the feedback coming is that Joe Terry does in fact love John Cena.
Yeah,
he's turning the corner on Jim.
He's a closet
Cena head.
Yeah.
We're turning the corner on that. We've got the best producer in the podcast business, Mr. Justin Bill Pimble Ramirez, here hitting it for us. And we're doing all we can for you guys. So,
if you have a question, a personal question or a wrestling question that you would like to be answered on the podcast, send those in. If you have a topic you would like us to cover, send it in. And we'll do some research on it, and we'll definitely cover it. Like Joel said, we're always searching for topics, and if you send in a good one, we'll do our research, and we'll get back to you. And then, as Joey mentioned, that classic match, one of us will pick one, then all four of us will watch it, give our feedback on it. We'll let you know our feedback, and then we encourage you to go and watch that match, and then email us what you thought of that match.
Yeah, and I think another thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some simulcast, pay-per-view stuff. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff here, so if you could just stick with us, we're just kind of learning the ropes of this podcast thing, and I hope that we're entertaining you guys. Right, that's what we set out to do, and we're trying to raise the bar every week. So I hope we can do that for you. We're definitely here for that. We're definitely open to any criticism, comments that you guys have. Even let us know, man, because we're going to be here every week regardless. We're going to be coming to you guys every week. So we want to thank the 92 to 93. There are some conflicting reports as to how, just exactly how many downloads there have been. But we would like to thank the 93 people that have hit the power bomb on the download button and gave us a listen. This is out of our comfort zone, I think, for a lot of us. There's only 3 of us here live coming to you every week. Bill Pimble don't know what the hell's going on. He thinks we're talking about college wrestling. He don't know a damn thing about what we're talking about. But you know what? He's over there. He's tickling the levers and knobs, and he's making us sound a lot a lot cooler than we really sound, and he's muting out some of the weird sounds that we're making over here. But for us, this is a little bit out of our comfort zone, and we're not the smartest guys in the wrestling industry, but hell, we're fans. We're hardcore fans, and we're going to be bringing you guys our opinions, our comments. So if there's something you guys want us to talk about, if you want to be on the show, if you want to shout out, let us know. We'll be more than happy to help you guys out. And like I said, we're going to be coming to you guys live every week, live for us, 2 days late for you, virtually through a time machine. So, yeah.
Also, to the people that have already gave feedback, shout out to Julian Stockton, shout out to Jacob Tackett. We appreciate the feedback, and we're working on it.
Definitely.
We hope we did a little bit better job than we did last time, and that's all we can hope for, We're going to try to get some guests in here, but you know what? Guests is going to take listeners. So if you guys listen to the pod, you like the pod, if you're into wrestling in any way, shape, or form, tell your friends about it. We're trying to get some interviews lined up with superstars, and God knows I've sent 1,000 emails. We've been doing this pod for a week and a half, and I've probably sent, 10 to 20 emails a day to different people trying to get interviews lined up. So if you guys like the pod, share the link. We're on iTunes, we're on Podbean, we're on Pocket Casts. We're virtually anywhere podcasts can be found. If you're into us and you like what we're doing here, or if you don't like what we're doing here, share us anyways, because what else are you doing? That's a little cheap heat for your ass. You could just share us anyways. You ain't doing anything else. So get the word out there.
The more they share, the more listeners, the more credibility we'll have to get superstars on here.
That way, when you hate on us, it will actually mean something, right? If you just hate on 3 dudes, it ain't going to matter because ain't nobody going to know what you're talking about. So I think that wraps it up. Join us next week. We're going to be hitting it hard with our payback predictions, which I will probably win. And, yeah, so if you guys have any questions, comments, hit us up. We're at NearFallPod on Twitter, nearfallpod@gmail.com. Send us your questions, comments. Get on our show, man. This is pretty much an open show. We run a pretty open agenda here, so just let us know, man, and we'll be more than happy to take your questions and comments, guys. Thanks for downloading. Thanks for subscribing. Hopefully, you guys will be back with us next week. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.